Hi, I'm Walt Haight. Welcome to Arts Alive. Well, today we're going to be talking about all things film, and with me as my special guest to talk about his own personal filmmaking is, well, it's an old friend of mine, Galen Flinn. Welcome to the show, Galen.
Thank you, sir. Nice to see you again.
Well, the audience doesn't perhaps know you as well as I do. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and we'll lead up into your filmmaking career.
Okay, sure, yeah. My wife and I moved here to McMinnville back in '95, and I've been here ever since. We have a place out on High Heaven Road that we dearly love. Well, I say we. She passed away in 2014. But for many years after we got here, I was very involved with gallery theater, as you know, because you were in several things that I produced and directed, and I worked with you on several other shows. But my schedule kind of changed. I still work full-time even at my age, so I wasn't able to devote the time to the theater. So for a while I segued over and I was doing a lot of fly fishing, which I really enjoyed on the weekends. But then
how can you not enjoy fly fishing?
Oh, it's great, it's great. I invested a lot of time and money and had a motor home, so I got a chance to go to lots of nice places here in Oregon and camp out over a weekend and fish.
Sure.
But then with COVID, things changed again, and I wasn't able to get together with a lot of my fishing buddies and that kind of thing, so I started looking for something else to do. So I fell back into the creative arts again. I had been involved, even when I was at Gallery Theater, with commercial film and commercial, TV commercials and that kind of thing. So I decided I would get back into that, and I got involved with a group called the Saturday Film Club, which meets on Saturdays, several weekends during the year. And their goal was to allow people to learn more about the movie-making process. And I had been involved on both sides of the screen in that. For quite a while I was very active in what they call the indie film scene over in the Portland area, and ran cameras, was an art director, was a producer, I directed a couple of films over there and that kind of thing. So I thought, well, let's go back into that, but now that we're much more into the digital age, I can see what that has to offer. So I got involved with the Saturday Film Club when they did a script called East of a Dream in 2019, and that ended up being accepted in the McMinnville Short Film Festival. Then in 2020, we were going to do this interesting educational project, but it got stopped short because of COVID and isolation and people not being able to get together and all that. But we had started a project where we took a concept from Mike Santenay that was called The Last Read, and it was about an old book that was going to be read for the last time and then destroyed because it was a paperback and was falling apart. And they said, see what you can do with that. So I took that and turned it into a short script. We wanted about 3 minutes worth of script, what we call an ultra short. And I produced that, but it was part of a project where 3 different directors would produce this script. They would take the concept, write their own script, then it would be produced and directed and shot and edited, sound added and all that. And then we could look at all 3 of these very short films in a classroom setting with our group so that they could see the impact that the writer, the director, the editor, the sound man, the lighting man, the location selection and all that, what impact that has on taking a concept and making it into a piece of entertainment. Well, I produced and directed mine, got it all ready to go. I was done by the end of April of that year, but we were right in the middle of all of the lockdown, so it had nowhere to go. And the other 2 directors kind of decided, because of all the complexities of navigating through COVID, they said, well, we're not going to do it right now. So I said, okay, that's fine. So here I am with a product with no place to go with it. So I submitted it on a whim to the McMinnville Short Film Festival, and darned if it didn't get accepted. Wow. So that also went in. And then 2021, things just didn't work out for any of the production stuff. But this year, we started early enough because we were coming pretty much out of lockdown, and we came up with this concept for a film that ended up being called Barry Black and the Bad Trip. And I took the concept and turned it into what we call a treatment, which is where you essentially flesh it out as a story.
Right.
And then we turned the story into a script, and through various discussions on whose script we were going to go with, they chose my script. So I thought, okay, that's great. Now I'm kind of done with my major part of the process, and it was script writing, something I've done some of, and I was happy with the results that I had produced. And it was going to go into production in July and August so that we could submit it by the first week of November, which was the deadline for the 2023 Film Festival. And it was going along real nicely, except all of a sudden, the director that we had chosen to do the show suddenly became unavailable because of changes in his work life. So he said, I can't do it. I just don't have the time in my situation. So he said, okay, so we'll have to see what we can do about that. We had a meeting, and there was discussions about shelving the project for a year. And I said, no, we've got too much involved. Part of the art of filmmaking is to work to a deadline and get something actually done, so let's push through. And I said, okay, well, if you want to push through, you're the executive director now, or executive producer, I should say. I said, okay, well, that wasn't what I really wanted, but I've got to find a director now. So I called on a friend of mine, Roman Martinez, who's known here locally. He does a lot of short film work. And I said, Roman, would you be interested in helping bail us out? And he's part of our group. So I said, yeah, I'll direct it, but I don't know a whole lot. I'm going to need a lot of help. And I said, okay. I said, we already have a director of photography. And for those that don't know, the director basically sets the theme and the action and directs the talent on how to get the performance that he wants. A director of photography, who's also known as the cinematographer, is the one that actually runs the camera and gets the shots.
Right. But my question here is, are you directing the cinematographer to use this angle or take advantage of that light?
Yeah, basically the director goes to the cinematographer, says, okay, I want this shot to cover these two people here, and I want it lit so that it's romantic instead of, you know, like they're on a picnic or something. And it's up to the director of photography or the cinematographer to then get with his crew. Usually he'll have a camera crew. Of course, in small films, it's usually the same person. And he's responsible for working to get the lights right, make sure the sound guy has got the sound microphones out of sight, you know, and all that kind of thing. So it's very much a collaborative effort where the cinematographer is responsible for getting the shot that the director wants. Right. And the director is the one that interprets the script, which is a very important thing because you can take three different directors, give them exactly the same script, and end up with three entirely different movies, even though you don't change a word of the dialogue or anything, because of the way they see and interpret it, and the way they want the dialogue delivered, and the tone that they set, and how the color scheme that they want, all those things.
I have a question about continuity. When you're doing either interiors or exteriors, you have to deal with your surroundings. And so I'm wondering, is there someone on your crew, you perhaps, who is watching it with an eye out for a boom mic shadow or a reflection in a glass, a painting that has reflection on it?
Oh, yeah.
Or outside, a car coming down the road, but then somehow vanishing in the next angle shot, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Are you the guy for that?
Well, it's a combination. The director of photography is one of the guys for that. And again, in a small film production group like we have, he's responsible for a large amount of that. But also the director at the same time will be looking over your shoulder or looking into a monitor that's available to see what the shot looks like. So he can help spot things like that. And then you may have other crew people like a boom man or a sound technician that is responsible for helping to keep that mic out of the shot. And part of what you do when we do what you call framing a shot is the cinematographer will look in the camera and he'll say, okay, sound man, your boom is in the shot right here. Can you move it up and to the right a little bit or whatever and keep it out of the shot? Can you still get the right sound? You know, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's again, with a small crew, you're very much into all of that. Trying to keep an eye on it, and things, things do slip through. I recorded.
Yeah, well, they do in Hollywood.
Oh yeah, Well, I recorded 6 full scenes on a movie I was working on around Christmas this last year, a new movie I'm working on, where we didn't record any sound at all. And it was because somehow a setting just got changed on the camera, and we were recording sound directly in the camera. And I didn't spot it until last week when I was transferring all the bulk footage over and getting it ready to edit. And I said, wait a minute, there's no sound on these scenes. And I went through all of them, and sure enough, they were all dead. So, so that means I've either got to find a way to do what we call ADR and add dialogue back in, record it and dub it back in, or reshoot those scenes. So yeah, it happens all the time. Yeah, and after you've done it enough, you start to hear things. And when you're shooting, like you'll hear a truck going by on the road behind what you're shooting that isn't in the shot. But like you say, you'll notice that there's this big loud noise going by, and then all of a sudden in the next scene it's gone. Where'd it go? So a lot of times you'll deliberately record extra so you make sure you have that in the scene. Then you can go back and you can edit that back in, or you shoot it a second time and you can use that audio and take that sound completely out.
So all told, in the Bad Trip film,
yeah,
what total percentage do you think you had as far as your involvement in that project? Are we talking like the lion's share?
Well, I probably had about 40% with the writing, and then being executive producer, because I had to arrange for the 2 locations where we actually shot at. You have to coordinate a lot with people, and then doing the photography work for both the interiors and the exteriors. I did all of the photography work in this. So yeah, but still the director has a large part because he handles the interpretation, he coaches the actors and actresses, he makes sure that all happens. Then we did have a sound man that is responsible for making sure that in that one we recorded half the sound outside the camera into a special sound recording equipment because we had the availability of another club member who was available for one day when we shot all the exteriors. And boy, is he ever sorry he did that. And then the next weekend when we shot all the interiors, we recorded it all in camera. And so, I had to coordinate with the guy that helped me do all the sound with Kyle so that we could get all of that recorded in properly. And then in editing, you have to modify the sound so they both sound the same. But the problem we had with the location we did all of our exteriors, there were a couple of trees in this backyard where we were shooting. It's fall, and I'm not sure if they were starlings or what, but this flock decided to come in while we were shooting in the afternoon, losing sunlight, and things were getting, kind of dim, and we're trying to scramble to get everything done. And they came in and they started squawking. And we did things, we threw rocks to scare them away, and they come right back, and they're even noisier. So on a lot of what I did...
They were probably upset by being kicked out of a vineyard with the sound cannons.
Yeah, it was kind of...
the next hill.
Exactly, yeah. But it was funny because, when we shot all the interiors in camera, we were all inside. We didn't have any major sound problems. But, when the sound guy was there, he had a lot to cope with.
Now, the film that's in the can and is submitted to the 2023 McMinnville Short Film Festival, that event is going to be taking place
February 23rd through the 26th.
23rd to the 26th, coming right up.
And our film is called Barry Black and the Bad Trip. Right. Well, that is going to be in the block called Locals, which is a section dedicated strictly to local filmmakers. And I happen to know 3 out of the 5 that are involved in that. And it will be one of the very first films shown. So it's going to be our premiere for the show. We've seen it in rough cuts and in final edits and that kind of thing within the group, but it has not been distributed outside the group at all.
Well, I'm really looking forward to seeing it. I plan on attending as much of the film festivals I possibly can.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it too.
So it ought to be just a lot of fun. One last question before I let you go,
Sure.
Galen. Are you ever thinking about maybe going back to the live theater at all?
Back to live theater? yeah, I could.
Nice to see you back there.
Well, I enjoy live theater, both on stage and behind the scenes. I did, probably close to 20 productions at Gallery Theater over the years. Right. And some of them won awards, for best show of the year in its category, and for director and for sets and things like that. So I've always had a soft spot for it. I really enjoy it.
You and I were in one of the more edgier productions there when we did the Laramie Project.
Yeah, we did the Laramie Project, and we were both actors doing multiple roles.
That's right.
And that was a challenge. We also did, you were with me when I directed One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
That's right.
And, you know, I've done, like say, a lot of others. And then back behind the scenes, I was involved in the productions for The Wizard of Oz that were done, you know, back in the late 90s and early 2000s.
Yeah,
so.
you were, you teched for, like Phil, I think, for Annie, right?
Oh, for Annie and several others.
Right.
I like running lights, setting lights, and you know, getting those all set up for the show, and then running the light board during the show. I've done sound for several shows. I think the only thing I've never actually done was stage manager.
Yeah.
But I always like to be involved in the technical side of things. So I still like to act once in a while, but I'm probably better suited to be behind the scenes.
Well, it's just great to have you here, Galen.
Well, thank you.
It's great to see
fun
you
to be
again
here.
after a bit of a hiatus. I mean, the pandemic separated a whole lot of people. And wish you all the best on the success
Thank you.
of your film
that.
in the McMinnville Short Film Festival.
Thank you. Yeah, we're doing it just for the fun, and it's a privilege to get selected. You know, we didn't expect we would win any awards with this show because of you know how we had to get it all scrambled and pulled together and everything. But we're still proud of the work that came out of it. The actors did a great job. So you know, I've got a new production, like I say, I'm working on right now. It's a Christmas themed thing that is called Free Spirit, that I hope to be able to have entered into next year's film festival. So we're looking ahead already.
Good.
And the Saturday Film Club will start meeting on February the 11th right here at the studio. And we'll be discussing scripts to choose to do our production for this year for next year's film festival through Saturday Film Club.
Well, it's just great to see you just staying as active as ever.
Yeah,
and,
thank you.
So thanks again for being here.
Appreciate it.
And that's it. That's it for this time. So for McMinnville Community Media, I'll see you at the theater.